Let's talk about media training because you do a lot of media training.
Yes.
And so, what is media training? What are the different components of media training? How do we take clients through media training? What's the whole
What's media training?
what's the whole thing? Yeah.
Okay, so how long do we have? Long time? So media training is basically helping our clients get prepared for any media interviews that they're proactively trying to do or reactively trying to do, or just any engagements they might be having in the public. So, we talk about how to prepare, things that they should be doing in advance of interviews to make sure they understand what the interview is about, who's interviewing them, why they're being interviewed, what could happen if they do the interview versus not doing the interview. We go over the significance of key messages, which are, the 3 to 5 things that you will sit and reiterate during any interview to really drive the points home that you're trying to make. And they're there also to help keep you on track so you don't go off on tangents or say anything that you maybe shouldn't say that could lead to more questions down the road. Or information getting out that you shouldn't be putting out there. We talk about, how to prepare physically, like what to wear, how to present yourself, both if you're doing an interview in person or via Zoom or, another digital platform. So we talk about the differences in those and how to prepare and, where you should be looking during an interview. Like, we should be looking at each other during an interview, not staring into the camera. But if you're doing a Zoom interview, it's a little bit different where you want to be looking in the camera. So we talk about that. We also talk about how to deal with the really tough questions and tough situations that you might end up in, because there really is no way to fully prepare for that. But there are things you can do to make sure that, you're somewhat ready for things that could come your way. Like, if they ask you a question you don't know, don't answer it. Don't speak for anybody else. One of the big ones that leads to a lot of discussion during media trainings is, the no comment. I think it's easy for businesses, organizations, people, whoever it might be, to just say no comment to things that they don't want to talk about. But there are several different ways to say no comment without saying no comment, where you're giving a reporter a little bit of information, but it's really no information. So you're saying something without saying anything.
So why do you want to avoid saying no comment?
Great question. So the reason you want to avoid saying no comment is it does make a reporter think there's more to it, or that you're trying to hide something.
Okay.
And it could end up, again, leading to questions that you are not ready to answer or can't answer. I mean, a lot of the times when you see no comment, it could be a legal matter, but they could have just said, this is under investigation, we can't talk about legal matters, or just, saying something of that sort without saying just no comment.
Okay, cool. I've always been confused about, so when, see in movies and stuff that somebody says off the record or deep background, what are the definitions of those terms and why is it important to know what those mean?
Yeah, so that is a great question, and that is another tricky one. So I always advise, even if you know a journalist really well, try not to do information off the record. Nothing is really off the record at the end of the day. I mean, one of the things I bring up during media trainings is all the times I've sat in a newsroom, sat next to a reporter, and they come back excited about the story they just did and are telling, the producer or executive producer or somebody about the information they got. And, sometimes it's stuff that is off the record that they heard and that they're relaying. But there are very nosy people in a newsroom. I don't know if anyone's ever been in there. Yeah, very nosy, very curious. And so people are listening, and, somebody might just hear part of that conversation, not understanding that information was not for public consumption or supposed to be out there, and then it accidentally gets into a web script, or the reporter who the story might be handed off to may have heard that, and it somehow gets in the story. So I mean, unless you have a really, really, really trusted relationship with someone, or if it's information that shouldn't be out there, but it's not going to be the end of the world if it gets out there, try not to say information off the record. Sometimes we'll encourage clients to do conversations on background, and that's just really helping a reporter understand all aspects of the situation and making sure they have, the legal documents that might be involved, or past news stories, or helping them, guide them with, here's somebody who could give you this information, or here's something you should look into. And usually with those situations, the information's embargoed. And again, you have to have a really trusted relationship with the reporter that they're not going to leak the information ahead of time, but it does happen and it's a risk.